Kingen popping the counter-strike, staying alive for now. Nice two-man stun coming out, but Kingen down to about 50 HP, still staying alive somehow, but the volley. The 2v2 meanwhile, the jungler fight off to the side ain't gonna matter because Moham is already dead. The arrows fly, and DK dies. Top Esports. Kingen wants to keep these guys away with a counter-strike, but it ain't gonna do enough. Both turrets already dead. 3, 6, 9. Tanking it up on the front line as Kingen is already down. Aiming focused up next. Top Esports take game 1.
Well, the LPL and TES, they want to get a leg up over the LCK and hopefully get another team into those quarterfinals first. And they've started off on the right leg.
The right foot?
Whatever. Because they get the victory in this game. And I think there's quite a lot to talk about, even though it did only come down to a few fights. But there was an interesting discussion and discrepancy also in the way some people perceive the draft, right?
Yeah.
Because you saw, for instance, LS also commenting on like, oh, these are the elements in Dplus KIA's draft when we go into scaling, etc., that make this a winning draft. But you need a lot to go right for that to happen, it seems.
Well, and they also, so DK went through with the swap, right? Which theoretically is great for them, right? You have this scaling composition. You want to get the Smolder through the worst part of that initial laning phase, right? You don't want to go up against that Ashe Braum. So I actually thought, like, in terms of understanding from the point they load into the game, this composition, it was a really nice look from Dplus compared to some of the compositions we've seen them bring out at this tournament.
Yeah, and even though this game ended with, I think, an 11,000 gold lead and 15 kills to 4,
JackeyLove super fed.
I thought it was really close.
Yeah.
So I actually thought this was a really close game because I do agree that the DK composition outscales, and there was a few like breaking points in the game that if they go a little bit differently, I think like the threshold of the comps just switches and DK would have ran away with it. And those like thresholdy fights continued to happen throughout the game. And the biggest one was the bot lane turret failed defense where they effectively got aced and lost a turret. But like that's a situation, like everything that even led up to that moment was pretty hotly contested. We're going to pull up this clip right here, and you can understand why they don't want to go down 2 turrets to 0, and they have a ward behind, so they think they're going to pull off this double TP play. The execution is off, though, because the teleports come in late after the turret had already died.
Yeah, they don't sync it up correctly, and they could, like, if you have this composition, you want to wait and scale. Like, ultimately, losing that turret and backing off does not cost you as much as what happens here. And the setup for this play going into it as well was kind of something that I like to call the Tian special, which is they go for the 6 grubs, right? He immediately recognizes off of the bot prio or pressure that they've been able to put, goes down, takes that second Drake in the fight, which cuts DK's Drake stacking because they got first Drake. And then on top of that, top esports, so after getting both of those neutrals, go into this fight, then get Rift Herald later, and that really accelerated the game for them.
And it explains why Dplus really wanted to defend that.
Yeah, and also, there's a lot of little things that even happened before that. Like at the tail end of that clip, you could see how TES's bot turret was like a couple of hits away from being down. I almost feel like if DK could have killed that turret, they would have been much more okay going down 2 turrets to 1 rather than 2 turrets to 0 because their side lanes at that time didn't have a good way of getting prio. But even another small thing is at the start of the game, like the fact that the lane swap could have gone a little bit better for them. They had like a 50-second dive where they ended up losing both of them because Rell didn't get level 2 before defending the turret. Like there were so many little things that I actually think make me very curious for how DK will respond in the next game.
Yeah, it's kind of like the knee-jerk reaction would be, oh, more of the same, but that's actually not reality.
Well, yeah, exactly, because DK, I just don't know how they're going to respond.
But you hate this.
Well, no,
you hate Jax.
No, I like this.
Oh.
I like this from DK because I think that game was really close. And I think if they defend the swap better, I think if they don't make that double TP play, if they execute even, like, okay, we had the last fight too, right?
Yeah.
Where they stole the Drake. So this is what almost worked, in my opinion, for DK. And this is, I know it's a little bit weird because TES did smash them, but like Skarner being able to suppress, get the smite steal, but just like the overall structure of this fight. Remember, this team is down like 7K. They peel Creme off the back end of the fight. They buy a bunch of time in the back with the Cassante canceling out the Jacks. And if Aimling and ShowMaker are actually, you know, a little bit more fed and JackeyLove isn't actually just giga OP at this point, I think the team comp would have actually worked.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
And exactly. That's exactly the point.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that is why I'm super curious to see what draft comes through for DK, especially now that they're going to be going into it on that blue side, right? I want to see what their blue side draft is. Because, again, to your point, Jat, so many little things ended up accelerating, and you could even see the windows of where DK's composition could have taken over.
And by the end of that game, the reason why I said that about the draft is the Jax pick, right? Specifically, Jax.
It keeps losing.
You said you don't always like it, but maybe that's because it keeps losing, so maybe it isn't Jax's fault.
I still can't tell if Jax's atrocious win rate is a correlation or a causation. At a certain point, it will become the cause. Currently, I'm saying it's just a correlation.
Yeah, we'll see. Regardless, though, TES on a match point already. It is a best of 3, and if they win, they're going directly to those quarterfinals. But we're hopeful for seeing 3 games here. I don't know if our casters are ready. Ready. They are, and I love when Captain Flower says JackeyLove, so I hope he does it again in this game.
Wow.
We'll see if I get the opportunity. Here's Shocks. If they play like they did in game number 1, I'm sure that I will. Top Esports had a hell of a performance to start off this best of 3. They are now 1 game away from qualifying for the quarterfinals, from booking their tickets to Paris, from making top 8 here in Worlds 2024. And man, they were looking good in that first.
And it will be the last time they did that was back in 2020. Right? When they end that awesome quarterfinals against Fnatic at the World Championship. So, yeah, Top Esports very eager to get back to the quarterfinals at Worlds and to regain some hope for the LPL. LNG's already up there, but we're not going to hesitate. We're going to jump straight back into draft.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of additional pressure on the LPL teams because both BLG and Weibo are 1-2, right?
Oh, yeah.
The expectation is not just to do well at Worlds for the LPL, it is to dominate. The fans are not happy that they have 2 teams in the 1-2 mark, so Top has to do their part and look to advance.
All right, let's hop back into Champion Select, powered by Omen and HyperX, as the sides have swapped. Top on the red side this time, DK on the blue. The Renekton and the Rumble going to continue to be banned away from 369, with Gnar and Vi banned out by Top.
Does Yone get through here?
Please.
Let's see if Top are going to be banning it out or not.
Oh, you're a Yone hater.
Absolutely. Ever since the champion spotlight.
Yes. The thing is, I don't think ShowMaker really plays Yone.
That's kind of what I was thinking. They might actually try to leave it up and force them to ban it on blue side or give it away.
Well, they're going to ban away the Ashe.
Daring.
Now, we know that Kingen plays it. We've already seen Kingen play it, right? But assuming that Jax is open, if they do first pick it, you just have to respond with the Jax for 369.
Exactly, and I do think it's a lot weaker in top lane simply because it's actually a long lane. You can punish this champion with counter picks. In mid lane, it's so hard to punish champions because the lane is very short and because the brushes got moved back this year to the sides. So it's so hard to actually gank mid lane. Top lane is way more abusable. They are just going to go for it here, though, and we'll see if they do regret it or not. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Vetty, where I'm thinking this might be a Kingen Yone and not going to ShowMaker, but we'll see if ShowMaker does bring it out.
But they gave up the Jax. I'm actually very surprised. I guess from their perspective, they could argue, assuming that this is a Yone top, then we don't need to give over the Jax because we're going to be able to lock it in on 3.
Yeah.
And if the Jax is locked in, I think, like, for what it's worth, Aurora into Yone, very abusable matchup for the Aurora. You can be hyper-aggressive, and Creme already demonstrated his proficiency on the champion. So, we'll see. Sejuani going to round out, and there's the Jax hover. It's going to be locked in, so we are going to get to see ShowMaker on the Yone. This will be his first time at this World Championship. He has played it before, for sure. But now Top Esports have the opportunity to counter. Will they just go for the Cassante again?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You know, the Cassante, that is very much kind of like 369 bread and butter here. You know, he usually is the tank guy. But the top side for DK is nasty this game. You have Sejuani, Yone, Jax. Like, that is really, really strong. And when you look over at the top 3v3, it's like, there's just no way. There's no 2v2 you win. There's no 3v3 you win up on the top side. So that is going to be a real point of power here for DK. And we'll see if they can get their early game going. Because, again, that has been the point of strength for them in this tournament. It's been later when they've suffered.
I'm genuinely surprised that they didn't prioritize the Jax. I think that by locking it in, it would have given you an answer in the side lane. Because now, like, it's another intangible because on paper, I would argue that DK had just have winning side lanes across the board, right? They will get to a point, I would argue even at like one item, where they just have pressure on sides and there's not much that Top Esports can do about it. But DK do have a tendency to fight. They do have a tendency to play the 5v5s, which means that Top Esports could just be relying on that. And I was going to say, Kai'Saban should follow up from the Ziggs to limit the AP options so that you funnel them into a largely full AD comp.
Well, and I think the Ziggs ban especially is so intelligent because when you look at DK, it's screaming 1-3-1, right? It's playing the side lanes. And what do you need to actually enable that? Well, you need wave clear. You need someone that can park themselves mid, clear out these waves, not allow your towers to just get grouped and sieged on. So Ziggs definitely makes that a lot more difficult. I'm going to be curious here to see what DK looks for with aiming, as they're going to again be banning out that Renata.
Yeah, the Renata and the Poppy both going to be banned out second half here one more time.
Might be the Smolder again, you know? Like, we already talked about the wave clear that Smolder provides. Maybe DK is looking to lock the Smolder just so that they can keep it mid, provide that wave clear later on into the game.
I could see it, but then I just worry that similar things happen as last game, right? And it's like, if you do that, do you really want to have your Jax in a lane swap against K'Sante, right? Like, the Jax, I think, is kind of in a disadvantageous position oftentimes in that. And we'll see, as this time Meiko going to be grabbing that Rell, so they are going to have some really powerful engage now. Obviously, Aurora can kind of set up for that Rell, but then you have an incredible follow-up with the Skarner, with the Rell also. JackeyLove, I feel like, needs some sort of a hyper carry, though, because as far as consistent damage, there's basically zero. Like, Aurora has kind of that shotgun burst that's up front, but you need a true hyper carry here. And the fact that they're leaving it to 5th pick does make me wonder, you know, if they're considering some more kind of risky options.
Well, MF will definitely provide you with some wave clear. The follow-up
every couple minutes.
Yeah, every now and then, admittedly. The Leona follow-up with the Sejuani means that you've got good CC on the side of Dplus KIA. Ultimately, I like the direction of their draft. They are obviously very indexed towards AD.
That's what I was going to say. Like, how worried are you about that? Because it's K'Sante, Skarner, and Rell. Like,
for sure.
Everyone just stacks tabbies, and it becomes very problematic. Like, sure, then there's CC from Leona and Sejuani to maybe try to force you to build mercs, but it's like, if you're stacking armor, I'm really worried about that.
I still just feel like, though, that Yone just doesn't care. I don't know.
They have some mixed damage on the soul laners, to be fair. Obviously,
yeah,
like,
I mean, that's the thing, right?
And
Both Yone and Jax, I mean, they do magic damage too, right? Like, it's not quite a 50-50 split.
But they have some mixed in.
Yes. So the Kalista's going to be the round out. I am a little surprised, I will admit. When we were thinking hyper carry, like, I think Ashe would have actually been one of the better picks here in this situation, but I guess they want a champion that can deal with the fact that there's a lot of mobility on the side of DK, and JackeyLove can be very self-sufficient on the Kai'Sa. I was kind of expecting something like an Ezreal maybe, but I guess they want something that can get in the thick of things alongside the Aurora.
And it does feel like, if you're looking at compositions, I think on one item, like, top kind of blows DK out of the water in team fights. So I think, you know, what I'm expecting from this top comp is they play for bot prio, they play for dragon stacking, and they try to force this team that wants to play through sides to come and 5v5 them before they're really ready to do so.
Exactly. We were talking about the top side of the map for DK for the first half of this draft. So the answer then from Top Esports is, okay, we're playing for bottom side of the map. They did it last game to great effect, and if they can run it back here, they're in quarterfinals.
And one of the things that, you know, about Aurora, people always think about Aurora diving deep and catching out the MF and things like that, but you can play in these kind of compositions when there's 4 melee that are all diving towards one target. You just use your ulti to peel, right? Like, you get into the situation where there's these 4 melee running at your Kalista, you throw down the Aurora ult, Skarner is there, K'Sante is there, Rell is there, all the counter engage is very powerful and can create that space for JackeyLove. We saw what he could do with that space in game number 1, and we're going to see if he can get similar things done here in this second game.
Exactly, and not just the ulti too. Remember that Aurora's weirding is an 80% slow for a melee champion.
I prefer not to remember that.
Obnoxious. You sound like a melee champion who has laned against Aurora before,
I am a melee champion. I played a Volibear top game the other day. I was like, this sounds fun. I was playing against Aurora. It wasn't fun, let me tell you.
Not very fun, my friend. All right, let's see if DK can have some more fun in this one than they did in game number 1. Even this series out and take us to a game 3, or if Top Esports is going to just sweep their way into the quarterfinals.
I think the answers to Yone have not been it.
Okay.
My opinion is that crowd control is the best way to deal with Yone, because he is a champion that is not allowed to build Merc treads, basically. So there's like a big opportunity that CC kind of has extra value in a sense, because how many champions can be flecked? Oh, hang on.
Meiko face checking a brush, tries to crash down over the wall, gets frozen mid-air, but escapes. That's what matters. Record scratch, freeze frame, whatever you want to call it.
I got here.
But all that really matters is that I got out.
Yeah.
Now, I know some support players will sit there and go, worth, I now have Hex Flash. the point that I was setting up
Upgraded.
for was I'm curious if this is enough crowd control to deal with the Yone. Because I agree with your point about how Aurora's ultimate can be an effective tool. I think that Rell, with a good engage, can make it annoying for Yone for sure. And then also Skarner's target focus can be crucial. So they definitely have resources to make life difficult for the Yone. But the truth is that so far at this World Championship, whether it be on side lane or team fights, this champion has been problematic.
Yeah.
And he always finds a way to have an impact.
I mean, I fully agree with you, and that's kind of the same song I've been singing, is that CC is the answer, but I'm also of the opinion that it's not a good enough answer. And that's kind of the thing, is that it's like, at the highest level, there's so many ways to play around it for the Yone. You know, if you're thinking about like playing into a Rell or a Leona, you're like, oh, just stand on your AD carry, and then when he goes in, stun him. But then all of a sudden, Q3 knocks you up. The ulti then knocks you up. Like, there's all this CC. If you're standing too close to your AD, it's looking to peel, then you can get caught in that CC as well. The E can be used as a CC immunity when you're snapping back if you time that. You know, so there's all these little tools that pro players at the highest level have to be able to answer with CC. And so it can be really difficult to deal with the champion, even when you draft for these intelligent choices, which I agree, CC is kind of it.
Now, we're seeing push be gained by DK in both top and bot lane, which is a little different from what we saw in the previous game, where the pressure was being put onto them, which means that this gives Lucid a little bit more agency and options in the other game. Not that I expect anything too creative in a Sejuani versus Skarner matchup.
Ooh, immediate jump in. The Zenith blade from Moham is a mistake. He goes too far forward. A massive blunder from the DK support.
I mean, it feels like he just forgot about how Rell works, because Rell's going to flip you in. Like, yes, he maybe wasn't initially in the tower range, but he's just going to get dismount, flipped into the tower, stunned up, and Moham gives over a freebie.
That is rough. Ooh, nice engage coming up from Kingen here, trying to use that counter-strike to lock up Creme, who dies to the proc on the E snapback. Beautifully done there, comboing with ShowMaker and Kingen to get DK on the board.
Kingen with good pressure in the top lane, finds a window to roam down to mid, and Creme, being a massive lane bully in this matchup, leaves himself susceptible to Dplus KIA finding at the very least a trade kill. Ends up being a 1-for-1 on the map.
And I just think it's so smart from Kingen, because he gets the push top. Sure, he could have based and just walked back to lane, but if you don't feel that you can really realistically pressure the K'Sante anyway, it doesn't really matter, right? If you miss a CS or two there. So the time spent is actually still beneficial. Even if they didn't get the kill and he just forced out a flash from Creme, that gives ShowMaker so much more agency, so much more comfortability in this kind of a range versus melee matchup, where it's up to Creme to non-stop pressure and punish this Yone for every single CS. And you can't do that when you're missing your flash.
You're completely right, Azel. And like, I was going to talk about how like you can see how oppressive it is, specifically because what makes Aurora brutal is her 3-hit passive applies on both abilities and auto attacks, right? So even if she has things on cooldown, she can still look to try and bully you. But now Lucid looking for a gank.
Creme trying to get away from that Sejuani, play towards the other side of the lane. Meiko and Moham also both making their way up into the mid lane. Scrap, nothing really to come of it here for either side, as Tian now also showing up.
I mean, top knows that Creme is really in a difficult situation now, and that is why they have 3 members here covering him, playing around him. They're clearing out vision. They're dropping pink wards. They know how he has to play the matchup to be successful, and they're going to try to enable that as best as they can, as just kind of trading back and forth here. But neither top laner has base, so there's not really a lot of oomph behind these attacks here.
There's probably not going to be some for a while. I mean, the trading in general between these two, it's going to be a pretty even lane state, I feel like, unless somebody else gets involved or Jax commits the cardinal sin of getting too close to K'Sante post level 6 near a turret.
Forgetting how K'Sante works.
Yeah, one of those tough ones here in League of Legends. But honestly, a very, very even early game. 5 minutes in here, very close goal between the two squads.
Now, we didn't see it, but the cleanse was burned from Aiming in a little 2v2.
Whoa.
And look at that,
Nice.
the mind games from Meiko. Procs the Q, threatens the flash, and Aiming says, I have to respect this, I'm going to flash away, meaning both summoners now gone for Aiming.
Exactly. Without that cleanse, if you get Q flashed into the crashdown with Ignite there and everything, like you're just dead, right? So really smart play there from Meiko, steps forward, forces the summoners, and now MF is going to have to get out of that lane, so they're actually going to send MF up towards topside, potentially look to try to play towards those grubs, as DK did give all of those up last game, and we'll see if top does match the swap here and look to brawl.
Ooh, Lucid. Nicely done there, stopping Creme's recall.
And look at the wave. The wave is so screwed for Creme right now, but he doesn't have flash and he has no TP, so it's very difficult because that's actually stopping his recall to try to fight for grubs. So that alone may mean top can't actually contest.
It's funny because if you were to just look at the bottom of your screen, the gold would be very similar to what we saw in Game 1, where the only advantage that Dplus KIA have in terms of gold was from that mid lane, and DK have done a great job of playing around ShowMaker to help him get through this laning phase, but now there's a brawl around the grubs.
Top Esports would love to at least just smite one of these down, make sure that they can secure it. There it is, 1-to-1 on the first set of grubs, but DK has a 4-man unit ready to try to play here. Nice engage coming out. They go for the slam into the wall. Between Worlds finds multiple targets as ShowMaker now snaps back. A lot of pressure and damage onto JackeyLove, and he drops first in the fight. Tian finally gets a return kill here on a ShowMaker, but now he's in a little bit of trouble himself. Moham gets away with just 100 HP as Meiko is slowed down by the Sejuani, and Creme continues trying to find a little bit more damage. The weirding has some, but is it enough? They finally end up getting another 1-for-1 trade with a 2v2 here at the very end. Creme has more health, but he has no mana. Lucid trying to get away, and he has to flash to avoid the 3-hit passive.
Creme coming up massive there for the team. Does arrive a little bit late, but got so much done as JackeyLove was focused down, didn't even get his summoners off, burst down very, very early, and you're starting to think maybe this could be a DK1 fight. Instead, Creme helps to turn it around. We can watch it one more time. I was thinking that Aimling was going to be the one really vulnerable in this fight without the summoners, but it's actually JackeyLove that they land this targeting on here. They flash forward, look for this engage, and Lucid on the other side just finds him. Moham is there with the follow-up. ShowMaker comes in as well, and DK are able to burst down the Kalista.
And now the fight becomes even more extended, so Tian's able to finally shut down ShowMaker. The problem is then Tian needs to run away. Moham is tanky enough with the W active. The top esports realize they need to disengage. And this is the slight overforce from DK, because they sit there and think, oh, we can re-engage onto Tian. And they're able to get that kill, but then the re-engage comes back down onto Aiming as well. I think the saving grace here for Lucid is that Creme literally runs out of mana. He is forced to flash away regardless, though, and it ends up being a 3-for-3 on either side.
I mean, Creme was just sitting on the Haunting guys. He had no mana items whatsoever. Yeah. So, you know, in that extended fight, yeah, you do have that ramping damage, but at the same time, he goes fully that is the cost of this type of build.
Meiko clearing out the ward in the Pixel Brush as Tian makes his approach. There is the ultimate available for the Skarner. You always have the extra ability to tunnel through these walls, get some creative gank angles, but Lucid is hanging around here too. Could be a full-on 3v3. Tian tunneling through the wall and then immediately backs right back out.
He's just digging his way through the wall, checking out, seeing what's happening on the top side of the map, realizes he does not want to unburrow and instead goes back to the safety of the river. 369 getting a bit of pressure onto the bot side of the map as Creme makes a quick base. I thought that he would have enough gold to actually get his item, but apparently not quite yet. We are, of course, only 9 minutes into the game. Dragon's still up.
I mean, 8 kills in 9 minutes is pretty bloody. That fight in the topside river had a lot more bodies on the ground than a lot of those fights usually will.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a kill in the bot lane 2v2 as well, plus a gank mid, you know, able to get a kill there. So it has been pretty action-packed thus far. DK trying to utilize this triple melee topside with the Sejuani. They know it's a real point of power for them. They want to be looking to scrap and really force TES to try to outplay them.
And that's what we were talking about back in Game 1. That's what we were talking about in the Champ Select for this game. They need to take advantage of how good they are in the early game, how they can build these advantages with their mechanics, with their individual skill, and set themselves up for a better spot. Nice engage there. The lockup on JackeyLove. Moham needs a little bit more damage to secure the kill. Jackie's still kiting. He gets away with sub 100 HP back underneath the safety of the turret.
A nice engage from DK, but great peel there from Meiko. You know, normally in that situation, you wouldn't want to be using your ult and everything on the support, but Moham would have been able to chase down and kill off JackeyLove there, so it's the only way to keep him alive. But still, good proactive stuff here from DK, just connecting on JackeyLove with the very edge of the bullet time.
You're seeing the strength of getting that BF sword in the 2 versus 2, but 369, this is a kill angle.
Yeah, he's going in, wants Kingen here, flash to follow, jumps right back in with a little bit of footwork, and the Intofo strikes, bury Kingen in a 1v1.
369 with a very valuable 1v1, finds the outplay. Kingen didn't have the HP or the mana to continue the trades, and I think 369 did just come off the back of a base. You look at the item discrepancy, and yeah, it was an easy pickup for 369.
And had a really good Game 1. He had been getting a lot of criticism, especially from the LPL fans, about his performance at Worlds thus far. So important for 369, having a bounce-back game. Not only does he get the kill, he gets a plate off the back of it, procs the Demolish, already had the Sheen as well. And we may be getting another scrap here, but it looks like it's probably too late from DK.
Well, hold on. Creme could be in a little bit of a compromise
spot here. It's never too late for DK, Azale.
DK still on their approach. They throw out the Glacial Prison, but it ain't gonna find a whole lot yet. A lot of damage onto JackeyLove, barely staying alive here with about 50 HP. ShowMaker gonna grab the kill, but Tian with a massive 3-man ulti. No damage to follow it up. DK will get their single kill. They will take away the one Void Grub. Critically, gentlemen, it is 3-3 on Grubs. Nobody gets any Void Mites.
Yeah, and it's been a tough game for JackeyLove. He is just getting picked out time and time again. There is so much CC in this 4 melee squad. If anyone gets in on to JackeyLove, then all of a sudden the follow-up is always there. ShowMaker came down from the top side, was able to pressure from that angle, and again, JackeyLove goes down without being able to contribute too much to that fight, and it's a big concern for top and their composition going forward if Jackie falls too far behind.
For sure, especially when you kind of look at the damage threats. Creme and JackeyLove are really the core.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, so them falling behind is going to be a problem as DK, they're in a comfortable spot right now. We talked about the scaling threat they have on the side lane specifically, just how much of a menace Yone is in the current meta. I think DK fans can be pretty happy with the current game state. The Andrews being finished for Creme is a nice spike to have, but this Yone set up a nice freeze on the top side of the map, and he's continuing to ramp up.
Yeah, if we're talking about item spikes, there's quite a few coming through right now. Hold on, we'll talk about them in a second, unless this turns into something absolutely crazy. There's your Wombo combo with the engage, the E-stall impact from Tian, followed up with all the CC from Meiko. Vedius, I believe you called it, my friend. Yone doesn't like CC, and Top Esports have figured it out.
I mean, that's the solution when you're having to deal with a 1,000-year-old samurai. Just impale him into a wall with a giant scorpion from 1,000 years ago as well.
Just 4v1 him under his tower.
Yeah, it should just be on
his team.
Simple,
it's pretty
easy,
simple.
yeah.
Come on, guys. Why didn't anyone else think of that?
Top Esports coming out on top yet again. They're going to grab themselves almost a 1,000 gold lead here. We still have a little bit over a minute until we get to the Rift Herald and that next neutral objective spawning. The second Drake of the game, still first Drake of the game, I actually should say. I was expecting it to have been cleared already, but it did not happen. So that first Drake still live. Cloud Drake in the bottom half of the map. What I was going to touch on before we got the dive, first item power spikes are coming in for a lot of champions. You've got the Zeeks for the Sejuani, Heartsteel again for the Skarner in this game, along with that Bloodthirster for the misfortune of aiming that is 2-1-2, as Moham could be in a bad spot here. Crash down plus the weirding, a little bit of damage on that one as Kingen has to get away back underneath the tier 1 turret in the bottom side of the map at the same time with the bullet time flying in over the top. A lot of damage onto Creme, beautifully punished from DK as Top chased a little bit too far, but now what is this? Lucid nearly caught out there thanks to the Skarner ulti, but a flash into an Arctic Assault back over the wall, and now JackeyLove is once again in the sights of aiming, and DK, one more shot to the head, and Jackie's out of there. Aiming still fighting as Tian tries to get the last little bit of damage onto Lucid to make this one a 1-for-1 trade while ShowMaker chases after Meiko up in the top lane. It is a chaotic game too.
The skirmishes are just going in the favor of DK across the map. I mean, Leona is annoying because even if she face checks, W gives you all these resistances, but then she holds onto the aftershock until after her W wears off, and then she stuns you, and then the aftershock procs, and it's just like, oh, this champ is way too unkillable. And then even though they thought they put Lucid out, they also didn't have enough damage. JackeyLove is very far behind right now, and Top Esports going for these skirmishes when they're just not strong enough.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a bit of an overchase, right? They do catch out Moham, but at the end of the day, as you say, you know, he has so much resistances here, and ShowMaker's able to come in from the top side. They turn immediately as ShowMaker and Aiming do arrive, and then over on the other side, Jackie, not enough damage to actually finish off Lucid, and he just lays a trap with this ward. This is really nice play around that ward, just utilizing the vision as soon as he comes around there. He didn't even have cleanse available. It was up in about 5 more seconds. So great timing. They find the pick. And it's been really good play in this game, too, from DK. I think even though the gold is actually in the favor of Top, I think they are very far ahead. Just looking at the goal difference between these two AD carries, it's a 2-threat team, and you only have 1 threat.
Yeah, not a great sign for Top Esports for the current state of JackeyLove. As you can see, the Rift Herald is now on the map. MasterCard Lane Economy snapshot showing you, yeah, it's a huge advantage for aiming, but also a massive advantage for 369 in that top lane 1v1 that we haven't really seen a whole lot from after the solo kill. Now the Rift Herald is the target for Top Esports. Moham and Lucid walking up. Lucid wants to be able to challenge here for the flip, and he steals it away. Beautifully done with a bullet time in over the top. It's not going to find a whole lot of damage as ShowMaker tries to jump in. He resets his position and gets back away, but Lucid's going to be killed up first as Creme tries to disengage. Kingen in the middle of everybody with a counter-strike, but he ain't going to find a lot. 369 is on the hunt as Moham and Kingen try to get out. Tian still chasing. Moham's about to drop. DK lose 2 men. Yes, they might have stolen away the Herald. They do end up being able to pick it up thanks to ShowMaker.
Yeah, and this time, ShowMaker actually going to TP back, and he's looking for Jackie.
He's ready to keep going. On the front line, though, with Kingen, they aren't going to find the target they're looking for. DK, though, they summon up the Rift Herald here in the mid lane. They claim the tier 1 turret, and now ShowMaker is just going to take an Uber home. Or does he drive it up into the top lane instead? He might be able to swerve this one. Let's see if he can connect.
Yeah, we'll see if he can actually make it all the way there. It also might just expire. Creme,
All right. Unlucky.
Hit the curb, unfortunately, and it will walk in and just die, but good TP back from ShowMaker. He barely survives and is able to TP back and make something from nothing there. They get the tier 1, and not only that, he forces out the flash from JackeyLove, because this is one of the first fights where they really couldn't reach the top 80 carry.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising to me that Top Esports turned this fight around, and I think crucially, I'm going to keep my eyes on 369 because there's this front line that kind of carry a nice ulti from MF, but it doesn't actually connect as much as I thought it would. The ulti came through onto Creme from ShowMaker onto the back line, but you kind of look at who's actually in the fight, and it's really only ShowMaker and Lucid, and so good target selection from Top Esports is now Creme.
Oh, Creme, they popped the tier 1 turret in time, and now with the TP coming in to reinforce him, it's Creme at 369 against Kingen and ShowMaker. 369.
Long enough.
Still in the chase here, has the third in Tofo strike, looking for the knockback. Hits Kingen. Not really a whole lot more to get out of this one, though. They had Meiko and Tian coming up around the side in case the fight kept going. But Top Esports not going to disengage it after having kept their mid laner alive. Hold on, Moham. Now the target. Tian ready to tunnel through the wall here to back up Meiko. Remember, this Leona is very, very, very tanky. Still at about half HP. Impale to drag him right on back. They are throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this dude, and he's still getting away. Creme finally takes the kill.
I mean, that was a lot of CC required. It's just like, we will hold you here until all of your resistances wear off. They eventually find the kill. Bear in mind that the dragon dropped eventually in all of that. The first dragon of the game going in favor of DK as Lucid ended up securing that. But I like the response there from 369. I was concerned heading into the mid game because, as you were highlighting, is pretty much the gold is in the right places for DK, right? Your ShowMaker's in a good spot, aiming is really far ahead, and you think coming into these mid game fights, as long as these carries are strong, then it doesn't really matter. But 369's presence is very much there in the team fights. This unmovable wall that is just being obnoxious and buying peel and time for JackeyLove, I think is crucial. And that TP into top lane, keeping Creme alive, is just another example of that.
And the itemization is exactly what we were expecting from 369 as well. You can see the Thornmail just now being completed alongside the Iceborne Gauntlet and the plated steel caps. Yes, you have the mixed damage from Jax and Yone, but it's still massively favoring physical damage overall, and this guy is just built to endure that.
Yeah, and it's so many auto attacks, between these champions, right? And Tabby's are just going to be able to straight reduce that. You can see the armor is starting to get stacked up here by Tian. Did have to give some respect over to the amount of CC, obviously, that there is. Sejuani, Leona, Jax, there's a ton of CC there. So yes, Merc Treads are still obviously, pretty strong, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go into something like a Frozen Heart next or a Randuin's, and is going to be really difficult to actually punch through.
I like that you mentioned that because as the targets that are likely to face check, sometimes that extra tenacity is just more valuable than having the armor reduction from Tabby.
ShowMaker has already used his Soul Unbound, and 369 is still chasing. As Meiko and Tian are ready to intercept Lucid, ShowMaker needed to use the Fate Seal to get away from 369. As soon as he saw ShowMaker use that massive amount of Yone's power budget, he was ready to full send it.
It's reminding me watching Cassante versus Yone, just like, I was you before you were you, okay? Cassante still doing Cassante things. Of course, 369 with the lead that he does have is going to make it difficult for ShowMaker without any way to shred through that armor.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. And honestly, from the position that 369 is in, if you can just trade ults with him, it's honestly really, really good, because Yone without that ultimate, I think it's going to have a really hard time, showing up to these team fights and threatening backline. And as long as Creme and JackeyLove are not threatened, they are going to be looking really good in these 5v5s. It's the Hallway Baron that's going to be spawning up, which you can play a lot of interesting vision games around this one because there's those extra walls, which can make it difficult to have kind of full ward coverage.
Yone ulti also completely goes down that whole hallway. So getting rid of the Yone. I said the Yone ulti also completely covers the whole hallway. So you've got to be careful about that hallway.
Yeah, and like Betty said, Cassante is also really difficult. Skarner can pull off some good plays. So there are some interesting things that you can do with vision in this game and with these champions. A lot of players actually like to kind of play around this area where you're kind of playing in there. And if the other team ends up face checking in, you can be kind of setting up there for a trap, have an MF come out over the wall, that kind of thing, which I think it's the most interesting of the Baron pit spawns, honestly.
Definitely adds some cool opportunities. Top Esports still up about 2,000 gold right now, have a +1 advantage in terms of turrets, but there is one Drake for DK. Only one Drake taken so far in this game at 21 minutes in. It has been such a bloody game, such a PvP-focused game. We haven't had time for the objectives. The second Drake going to be spawning here in about a minute, a little bit under that now. We'll see if we get a fight for it or if it's just a handshake, somebody takes it, the other side happy to farm up instead. Looking at where the items are, Randuin's Omen now fully completed for the Skarner. The Malignant's done for Creme with the Aurora. You have 2-item power spike for JackeyLove now as well. We've already talked about how this game has been pretty rough for him. 3 deaths already on the Kalista. Was focused pretty heavily in some of those early fights, but seems to be recovering rather well.
I mean, crucially, he's about to be 2 levels down as well. I think after this wave, Aimling should tick over to level 13. And those 2 levels are going to make a big difference as we get closer to the big fights.
Meiko stunned up, has to flash away as DK was threatening a full all-in on that support. With the Dragon about to spawn, it would have been a guaranteed objective over to DK.
I do wonder if Top Esports feel strong enough to fight right now. I mean, I feel like you could make the argument that if you leave Yone on the side lane longer, it's only going to get worse, so maybe now is the best time for you to fight. However, they don't have... Oh, I say that. They now have great position thanks to the push that 369 got on bot lane. Creme is catching that wave on top. He has the TP available. And when we see the vision, DK is largely starved of this Dragon.
And I think their top side is so strong right now. You know, 2 items across really the board here. You're looking at the jungle on the top from the other side, way weaker.
ShowMaker over the wall there with the soul unbound, but he has to snap back. The Drake is going to be claimed before Lucid can try to show up and threaten a 50-50. Tian wants to jump over the wall. Lucid's about to lose the Arctic armor. They're trying to use a lot here on the Sejuani. The Impale only onto the enemy tank. ShowMaker's looking for the angle here, but Lucid's going to be killed off first. JackeyLove taking the kill as Moham is isolated from the rest of the team. JackeyLove's trying to be protected by Meiko and Tian. He needs to kite out away from the Yone, but a nice move coming out from ShowMaker to take him down. Aiming is kiting it out. Tian is about to die. Kingen looking for a little bit more as Tian gets away, but finally Aiming getting the last auto attack and a double kill back over to the AD carry from DK, but he's the only one left standing. 7 dead bodies on Summoner's Rift, and Top Esports comes out +1.
It's an absolute bloodbath by the red buff. The follow-up fight there was massive as Top was feeling really confident to chase in. Kingen, though, made this a very difficult fight. He had a very good angle, as we'll go later into this. Obviously, Top is able to secure. Then we're going to see Top looking to actually force this, and I'll draw your eyes down towards this Jax. He's going to come around from below here and look to get onto JackeyLove. And JackeyLove very early on is going to have to actually flash over the wall into the pit as Moham and Kingen put that pressure on. JackeyLove, though, did a good job getting damage over the wall, and you can see that they make a full call to try to jump into that red buff pit and peel for him. Tian flashes over the wall. Meiko's ulted over the wall. Creme is there peeling. Everyone is trying to peel for this AD carry.
And then Aiming, nice use of the ultimate with the flash there as well. Unfortunately, it kind of cuts him off. If he'd ultied across the red pit, I wonder how much damage that would have done, but he made the decision to instead shut down Creme to eliminate that threat.
Lucid could be in a compromised spot here, but he has enough time to get away before the rest of Top Esports show up. And it looks like Top is starting up the Baron. This
they want
is
to force TP from Kingen.
A little dicey, yeah. They want Kingen's attention here. There is vision in that hallway near the Baron pit. Lucid is around.
There's the TP.
Top Esports now turning for the fight. Lucid's going to be the focus here at the start, taking a lot of the damage between worlds, ready to drop and try to keep DK in place, but Kingen has already killed JackeyLove. He'll be traded back. Lucid is very low. He's already going to be killed now as 369 goes on a killing spree. Over the wall he goes to bring back another one on DK's side. A double kill for the Kasante as he tries to get away, but ShowMaker is making plays on Top Esports. DK is ready here in his second game.
Top Esports skipped too many steps. There was too much vision and angles for DK to approach from, and Kingen with a fantastic TP flank is able to come in from behind. And look, they're TPing back in. They're going to start this Baron off.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted the TP, and damn, did they get it. Kingen came in and just killed JackeyLove off for free to start the fight, and now it's Creme versus 3 to try to stop the Baron.
Creme even flashing over the wall there to escape ShowMaker's Yone. Top Esports draft hubris is being punished. ShowMaker is showing them this Yone and why you do not let it through. They are focusing JackeyLove so well. Kingen on the Jax, always looking to isolate him, always looking to beat him down. And DK have earned themselves a Baron.
And you talk about CC and one of the answers to Yone, well, he is a QSS now, and Aimling has been positioning incredibly well, but look at this TP. No one is marking Kingen whatsoever. I thought they were going to look to turn on the TP. Instead, they try to engage down, but you're abandoning JackeyLove. That's horrible team fighting from top.
And top esports, they really funnel onto the front line. Moham and Lucid are the ones tanking up so much of the initial burst.
And watch Aiming.
But the moment that you lose, JackeyLove, like so much of your damage disappears, and it becomes easy cleanup as Aiming. Did he even take a drop of damage in that whole fight?
No, Aiming wasn't hit a single time, and no one was marking the TP. I mean, they wanted to force the TP. I thought they were going to either force the TP and turn on the TP and try to burst down the Jacks, or force the TP and just try to get out, but they kind of did neither, and JackeyLove got left out to dry, and top make a massive mistake there with their team fighting. And that does give DK a really strong in to potentially win this game. Look at the carries, look at mid, look at bot. It's a two-threat team, and they're down a combined 3.4, 3.5K gold just in those two roles.
Yeah, it is not a good game here for JackeyLove. 5 deaths now on the Kalista. Good focus from the DK carries, diving him over and over again. You can see the damage recap from the previous team fight. Over 5K for Aiming on the Misfortune, doing exactly what he needs to do, being the cannon for this team. You can see your goal difference over time was feeling pretty good for top for quite a while there, about 10 straight minutes where it was in their control. But now it's DK in the driver's seat. They've got these two great split pushing champions, and they've got 90 seconds to bulldoze some structures inside lanes.
I mean, there's just a lot of standing goals for DK to just grab, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Lucid continues to, it looks like he's getting caught, but he can tank so much of the damage up, and it forces top esports to overextend again.
Tian missing the impale. That one's going to hurt as ShowMaker has to reset his position with the soul unbound. He popped the QSS to get away. Moham's going to keep the fight going. Bullet time gets Tian very low, but he ain't dead yet. Still burning to the ignite. Barely survives with about 50 HP left. Nobody dead on either side here.
So just a number of ultimates traded. Moham ended up losing his flash. Looks like that... I think Meiko didn't have his flash prior to that fight anyway. He did end up dropping the ignite. So a couple of summoner spells, but ultimately nothing too significant gained. At the very least, top esports could look at this as a bit of a stall tactic, so that the pressure from DK is alleviated somewhat. But you already look at the Jacks. Returns to top lane, starts pushing in this wave, and now their attention turns back towards the Dragon.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, this time around, DK has kind of reached some of those scaling breakpoints that they needed to. Top, though, going to be moving in is, I feel like DK just thought top weren't going to even try to contest, and they're not in position to actually fight for this, even with the lead.
Yeah, ShowMaker has to snap back, and top can claim themselves their second Drake of the game.
Okay, so we kind of get close now to the 30-minute mark. It's unlikely that DK can do much more off the back of this Baron, so we're looking at another big fight. You talked about those item spikes, Azael, and ultimately that's what we're playing for now, where there's a window of about 3 minutes. Both sides are going to be looking to catch as many waves, kill jungle camps, get as much golden experience as possible, ready for this upcoming fight. But I want to draw your attention to levels. Like, levels are very valuable sources of damage. Yeah. And Aiming has nearly a 3-level lead. It's about 2 levels, but yeah, he's going to tick over to 16, and crucially, that's 3 points in the ultimate as well. So aside from the fact that he has 3 items completed with a pickaxe on top of that, he also has all of these level advantages, which, I mean, he's the same level as 369. And so the levels alone, I think, already make things difficult for top esports, but there are certain breakpoints as well in the sense that ShowMaker now becomes a lot harder to kill. Azel's already highlighted the things like the QSS. Jax is at a point where there's no way Kalista can do anything against this Jax. Yeah. And while the Terminus has now been completed for JackeyLove, the question is it enough? On paper, I would say no, but that's kind of what you're hoping for.
And I mean, it's one of these things where the big advantages for top really were in top lane and jungle, right? But these kind of like bruiser tanks, your damage falls off heavily as you get later on into the game. You know, just your base damages is really what carries you because you're not building damage items. So in those early skirmishes, you really can be a massive threat, but you can't depend on 369 and Tian to be able to carry the damage in a fight later on. And ShowMaker has the QSS, he has a giant spelt on top, he's got some HP with the Strikebreaker. Like, this is not someone easy to burst down.
Yeah, Creme. Talking about easy to burst down, though, Aurora does not want to get any closer to this Jax. Lucid coming in to back Kingen up, throws out the Glacial Prison, but Creme just a hop, skip, and a jump away from death. He'll survive for now.
Top are looking to collapse potentially here. We'll see if they can chase anyone down.
Doesn't look like it, but 2 ultis invested. Fortunately, 1 minute and 15 until the next Baron, so that shouldn't cost DK too much. But funnily enough, I was just thinking to myself, okay, obviously it looks doom and gloom for top esports, so what ways do they come back? And I was going to say, I think they should be trying to look for picks on side, because that's what DK is leveraging right now. They have a Yone pushing bot, they have a Jax pushing top. Maybe you need to leverage Skarner's ability to go through walls to maybe catch someone off on a side lane, especially when there's nothing that really DK could cross-map for. But then it's DK to actually initiate the pick on the top lane.
And I think my biggest concern, like normally I would fully agree with you, but I just don't even know, like, do you have enough damage with Skarner plus Creme or Skarner plus 369 to actually kill off ShowMaker or Kingen before they kind of just run away, right? Like,
yeah,
at this point in the game, it is really tough. Aurora is so front-loaded in your damage, and now there's, you know, MR on both these soul laners. There's a lot of HP on both these soul laners, and it's going to be really, really tough. They need to have that perfect fight where JackeyLove somehow is having a big effect, and they're looking for aiming.
Yeah, they want this misfortune if they can get him. Aiming slowed down, but the Impale has already missed. 369, one of the pincer attack, but it's Kingen coming around from the side now as JackeyLove is immediately locked up, but he's trying to kite it out to get away in time. Kingen down to 1/3 HP, but ShowMaker's into the back line with a fade seal. Jackie's still under pressure. ShowMaker snapping back. Top Esports with an HP advantage, but nobody dead on either side. Third and Tofo strike comes out. 369 looking to keep the chase going. No kills, but Baron is available. ShowMaker used TP and Flash in that fight. Kingen used a Flash as well. We'll see if DK can get back in position in time.
ShowMaker's trying to heal up off the red buff. He's going to actually kill the red buff for his team. He's life sealing up off it, but here comes Kingen again, and JackeyLove is off to the side by himself.
JackeyLove at low HP, but the rest of the team is ready to try to turn. Meiko with a shattering strike. Top Esports panicking to protect their AD carry. They're forced off the Baron.
So you could argue that that was a one team fight for top esports in the sense that they got position over the Baron, but the health bars are now going back up for DK. The mid tower is going to drop. Top esports need an opportunity for reset, but they're not going to be given one, as DK is just going to put the pressure immediately back onto top as they start the Baron.
Beautifully done from DK. Now they're the ones forcing top esports to respond. 369 against Kingen is not feeling good for the K'Sante. 32 minutes into the game, not against the 3-item Jax. Tian wants to try to dive through the wall, but instead he has to flash away from the solar flare, worrying about getting bursted down himself. The Skarner not tanky enough at this point in time, but at least he buys enough time for DK to be forced off the Baron now too.
And again, that's the awkward spot. We'll see if they can catch one of these recalls.
This could be a little bit greedy from DK. Moham's trying to get out now. Lots of flashes being spent as Lucid also gets himself out. ShowMaker looking for an entry into the fight, and Aimling goes unstoppable. Bullet time cuts down Meiko, and top esports are in a 4v5. Aiming with a single shot back into JackeyLove. Tian coming in, aiming with a flash away now as the engage from Moham ain't gonna be good enough. He's down to about death's door, and they finally get him. Creme takes the kill. Lucid's trying to get away, and 369 goes all out, all in, all the way forward for top esports. Kingen swoops around to try to cut the wave, but top just found a miracle.
It's all nines for 369 in this one. Taking over on that fight, gets in on Aiming, flips him in, gets the 1K shutdown, and now they're going to be looking for Baron here. Lucid is without Flash, and he's in a 1v5. He needs Jax to help him out.
He's got Kingen here to try to back him up. Kingen is very powerful on this top lane. Jax 32 minutes into the game. Lucid at about 1/3 HP. Creme wants to keep the Jax away. 369 barely hanging on. Very small health bar. Tian wants to guarantee he can secure this objective for his team, but Lucid goes over the wall, ready to jump into the pit. The Baron's going to be claimed by the Aurora of all people. Creme's living the dream. Kingen has to try to get away. Creme still in hot pursuit. The Jax will live, but top esports get another kill, and they get the Baron. Game number 2 is delivering.
In an unbelievable turn of events, top esports find an incredible fight. Crucially, look at the minimap. Recalls coming through. They don't have vision on them, but they find a way to spot them out. The ultimate is available from Creme. He's able to force the flash out from Moham. They engage onto Lucid, and the Jax is still pushing top. He's saying, DK, disengage, disengage, let me push. And as long as DK do disengage at this point, they're fine. But Aiming oversteps. He steps too far forward, and top esports find a window to engage.
Yeah, the early Ren there, you know, from Jackie, slowing him down, forcing out the flash, and then 369 gets in with the Pathmaker. The third and Tofo strikes, knocks him up, knocks him down. That is a huge play there from top. And honestly, a great read. You know, they saw them walking through the river, just had the read that they might be going for a recall in that brush. If they're not, it costs you nothing. But they were, and they get that catch, and they turn the game around, and now they're on the push.
All right, back to live. We'll see if top has the firepower to keep this going. Jack Show completed for JackeyLove will help him against this Yone and Jax trying to dive onto him, but it's still just a single tank item against two very fed divers. Arm guard now completed for Kingen's Jax as well. Top Esports still looking to push onto the tier 3 turret. Meiko on the front line, got to be a little bit careful. JackeyLove saves him. Top Esports backing away for now.
And Creme has his death cap now completed. He is solo AP on that team, so he is going to be a massive threat.
Okay, tier 3 turret, just
Tian's
about
going.
dead here in the bottom lane. Just about dead over in the mid lane as well. Lucid's gonna be dragged back by the Impale. Creme goes between worlds, and Lucid is down. King into the back, trying to cause some disruption, but he's gonna be hurt next. Moham about to drop. 369 here in the front line. Needs a little bit more damage, and again, the Cassante will not stop. Kingen's on the run. Top Esports looked like they had no shot left, and now they are pushing into the DK base. ShowMaker, Kingen, and Aimling all still alive. Top with all 5 men still ready to go, but they gotta be careful with some low health bars. ShowMaker goes in for a fate sealed. Big bullet time of the 369. Creme has already killed ShowMaker. Aiming is about to be caught. Kingen jumps into a 1v4, but he will not find his hero's moment. An ace for JackeyLove and a sweep for Top Esports. DK tried, and they could not do it. Top will rise to the occasion and make their way to the quarterfinals for the first time since 2020, and they will do it with a 2-0.
Incredible team fighting from Top Esports. I mean, they just played so many of those fights so well.
Man.
JackeyLove was shut down from the start of the game, but I mean, you highlighted it, Azale. We need to bring attention once again. 369.
He is
with
different.
A phenomenal performance. I mean, incredible stuff from him, and credit to Top Esports.
Damn, what a show from Top Esports. Desk, break it down for us.
Well, it wasn't as much JackeyLove. It was 369. Wow, unbelievable turnaround. I mean, I did not think they were going to win this game. It came down to some of those final skirmishes and decision making, and obviously the guts to make the plays that they did.
Yeah, the big thing for me is 369 in this, right?
Yeah.
Because JackeyLove, for a lot of this, was not allowed to play the game. They were not warding for the flanking Jax. He got absolutely destroyed in a few of these fights, and it was 369 creating space, especially in that mid lane fight.
I also, the ShowMaker Cassante copy pasta.
Which one?
Well, he started it at the start of the year.
Oh, right.
And it just happened to him again.
It happened. And he played Yone.
They did it to themselves by picking all physical damage into a full team of bruisers.
It's risky, and it did not pay off.
it
I
did
will
not.
say they had the tools to win this game, but it was TES in the HyperX Reflex replay who pull off the game-winning, series-winning, and quarterfinal locking in pick on Aiming.
Yeah, I mean, they go in for this pick, and you actually think because Aiming is untouched, he's going to be great, right? Like, he immediately takes out Meiko, but then he steps so far forward here that they are able to jump on him. And then watch 369, because 369 hasn't been having the best tournament. I'd argue he hasn't been having the best year, but the way he's able to create space, and then this Cassante able to jump onto Aiming immediately, like, this is the vintage 369 that we really want to see from this TES squad.
Creating space mentioned. He did great on the Cassante.
Just take that off the checklist. Was it Vedius that put that as like a check mark?
Yeah, he absolutely did. I will say Creme had a much better second game on Aurora than he did first game, and I think that's going to be something that they want to build off of. I absolutely do. Look at the damage.
Yeah, okay, you can't mess with the damage.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you look a bit closer at those first 20 minutes, who knows? They won, so who cares? And it's Laura who's standing by right now in the Verizon post-game interview.
TES advance to the next stage, and I have Tian with me to talk about this amazing series. And Christina, of course, thank you so much for joining me. You've been facing off against LCK teams mostly, from T1, the loss against Genji, and Dplus KIA today. How has it been matching your playstyle to the LCK teams?
好的，恭喜你们滔博成功的晋级到了8强。我们邀请到的是小天来到赛后采访。那在目前为止，瑞士轮赛的你们所遇到的对手大部分都是 LCK 的队伍。那首先是赢下了 T1 之后，可能有点遗憾输给了真迹之后，今天呢又赢下了 DK。所以总体来说，你觉得你们的这样一个游戏风格和 LCK 赛区相比起来是怎么样的呢？
我们队伍的话就是比较偏向于打架吧，然后我们也不是不擅长运营的队伍，所以我觉得我们还是有在某种方面来说还是比较全面的。相比于 LCK 的话，我觉得我们的选角可能会更进攻一点。
So first off, I think we tend to take team fights, and I don't think we are a team kind of who excelled at playing around macros, and also in terms of the ban strategies and the champions we pick, I think actually we are kind of all-round teams, like that.
And you've all been playing super well, and you especially, Tian, not only during this series, but during Worlds and throughout the entire season. And when people talk about you, they say this might be your best season yet for your entire career. I know that consistency is something that you've struggled with in the past. What has been different for you this year? And do you feel like it has been your best season?
那小天选手一直以来都是一个发挥比较出色的选手，但是这个赛季，特别是人们对你的期望是很高的，大家都会说，现在这个赛季会不会有可能是你最好的一次的？包括今年的表现以及整个世界赛的发挥。那你现在觉得今年以及世界赛上会不会是你将有可能是最好表现的一年？
无论大家怎么看吧，就是我一定会拿出我们最好的表现来，在这个赛场上留下这个回忆。
So no matter the other people's how they, what's their opinions on us, and this year I would like to try my best and try our best in terms of my playstyle and also the whole team. We are going to prove it and show it.
Absolutely. And moving forward, you're going to come back to the place you found the most success, Paris 2019. What are you anticipating for quarterfinals?
那接下来你们将要进到巴黎去打8强的比赛了。那巴黎这个地方也是小天选手曾经留下过在世界赛上最成功的记忆之一的地方。你捧起了世界赛的冠军，那对于下一个赛段去到巴黎有什么期待吗？
大家巴黎见。
See you at Paris.
See you in Paris, indeed. Sheshe, thank you so much, Tian, for the interview. Christina, thank you so much as well. Top Esports advanced to quarterfinals. We'll be right back in a few minutes for Hanwha Life Esports versus FLICKR. Stay tuned.
Red Bull gives you wings.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, good.